Every community has a pulse, right? A sort of rhythm to its daily life. But how do you actually hear it? For centuries, the answer was simple. You went to the town square. That's where you got the news. Well, today, that square has gone digital, and let's be honest, it's mostly chaos. But what if you could rebuild that central square for today's world? One small town is giving it a shot, and their story, well, it might just be the blueprint we've all been looking for. But seriously, think about it for a second. Before your phone was buzzing nonstop with notifications, how did you find out about the school bake sale, or the change in the parade route, or that big city council meeting? Answering that question is actually the key to understanding the whole information mess we find ourselves in today. All right, so let's trace that journey. We're going to take a look at how we went from a single, clear voice that everyone in town could hear to the thousands of fragmented, chaotic feeds that we all scroll through every single day. So check this out. It all started with the town crier, a literal person walking around shouting the news. Then, of course, came the local newspaper, which was really the glue that held civic life together. Radio and TV started beaming news into our homes, but it was filtered, right? Then the digital age hits. You get these early experiments like Patch.com, which had some promise, but ultimately struggled. And that left this huge vacuum that social media was more than happy to fill. And just like that, our shared conversation was shattered into a million little algorithmic pieces. The wild thing is that every step was a technological leap forward, but for our local communities, it was actually a step away from common ground. And this right here is the critical point. It's so ironic, isn't it? Each leap forward in technology somehow pushed us further and further away from having a shared, central place for truth. And with no single place to turn, a really serious information gap started to grow in towns and cities everywhere. And if you want to put a number on that gap, try this one on for size. Over 2,100 local newspapers have just vanished since 2004. This created what experts call news deserts, and that's exactly what they are. Entire communities with little to no local reporting to hold people accountable, or heck, even just to announce the high school football score. Now, this is what's really important. It's not just about the paper itself, it's about the people. Look at that drop. In just 14 years, the number of actual journalists working in local newsrooms was cut by almost half. And fewer reporters, well, that just means fewer stories get told. There's less oversight, and you end up with a weaker community. Okay, but enough of the bad news. What if you could use all this modern tech to actually rebuild that town square? Well, one town in Minnesota is trying to do exactly that, and they're creating a fascinating new model for local news. It's a website called HastingsNow.com, and their goal is ambitious to say the least. They want to be a true digital town square. So this is not just another news website. No, it's a central hub that's designed to pull in all the local information, and, this is the most important part, to give every single organization a microphone. And when I say all information, I mean all of it. They use a simple but really powerful technology called RSS, which basically lets websites automatically share their latest content. The platform pulls in over 2,000 updates a day. School alerts, blog posts from local businesses, city announcements, newspaper articles. It all gets funneled into one massive, live, searchable feed for the entire city. But here's the really clever part. All this local information doesn't just sit there in a silo. Every business and every group gets its own profile page that's engineered to be found. It's optimized for Google, for all those near-me map searches, and, get this, it's even structured for voice assistants. So you could ask Alexa when the farmer's market is, and she could pull the answer directly from Hastings Now. The voice is local, but it's legible to the entire globe. Okay, and this brings us to what is probably their most radical, coolest feature. It's basically a modern-day version of that bell-ringing town crier we talked about at the beginning. They call it a soundbite. The process is genius in its simplicity. Any verified local leader, a shop owner, a city official, a nonprofit director can call a hotline, record a quick 30-second audio message, and just hang up. That's it. The system takes over, automatically transcribes it, and posts it to the site instantly. It's literally a civic microphone for anyone who has a phone. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about misinformation? It's a totally fair question, and the way they handled it is incredibly smart. Each soundbite comes with what the source calls an info nutrition label. It tells you exactly who the source is, that they're verified, and how they got the information. It's all about building trust and transparency right into the system from the ground up. And these aren't just simple audio clips. They call them stiva posts. That's a story with text, images, video, and audio. So a restaurant can post a soundbite about their lunch special, but then also attach a photo of the dish, maybe even a short video of the chef making it. It turns a simple audio clip into a full, rich piece of measurable content.
So this all sounds pretty powerful, which raises a huge question. Why didn't the local newspaper or the radio station think of this first?
Well, this comparison really lays it all out. Legacy media runs on selling scarce ad space, an open platform where anyone can post, while that threatens their entire model. Their technology is often old and clunky. But the biggest difference, honestly, is the mindset. They see themselves as gatekeepers of information. Hastings now wants to be an enabler of voices. It's really a classic case of the innovator's dilemma. The old media companies were too big, too invested in the old way of doing things, and they were too scared to mess with their own business model. They didn't have the tech teams to build something new, and their whole culture was built around controlling the message, not creating a community. But here's the thing, this isn't just a story about one town in Minnesota. The team behind Hastings Now built this whole thing from day one with a much bigger vision in mind. This was never a one-off project. It was built to scale. It's what's called a multi-tenant system, which is just a fancy way of saying the same core technology can serve many different towns all at once. They've essentially created a digital town square in a box that could be launched in any community. And they built it on a foundation of really modern, powerful tools. Things like Next.js to make the site super fast and responsive, Supabase to manage all the data securely, and a company called Twilio that provides the magic that turns a simple phone call into a post on the web. The point is, this isn't some hobbyist website. It's a serious piece of tech infrastructure designed to be reliable and easy to use. Ultimately, it all comes back to this simple idea. All this technology serves a very human purpose. It's about handing a microphone to the local library, the historical society, the small businesses, and the city departments so they can all contribute to their community's story in their own words. So that leaves us with one final thought. In an age of news deserts and chaotic social feeds, the Hastings model offers a really hopeful blueprint. And it forces us to ask ourselves a pretty important question. Who is telling the story of your community? And if the answer is no one, or no one you trust, then maybe it's time to build a new town square.